Well, the crap balls, it seems like it's actually working. Last time I tried to do this, it didn't actually work. 5:04 p.m. As you can see, 5:04. I can't see. What are you doing here? As soon as I start live streaming, this stupid thing wants to come and get involved, hey? All right, you're allowed doing that just this once, okay? Then you know what you have to do. What do you have to do? You have to run along. Now run along. Just stay there and sit on my feet. Anyway, g'day. Hey, we got somebody in there already. G'day. Kinetics. That's a good name, Kinetics. So I've had so much on my mind lately, I don't even know where I want to start. But it's a day because every day is named something day. Today happens to be Saturn's Day or Saturday. For us, it's the 14th, and I believe it's still Friday the 13th in some parts of the world. And yesterday was Friday the 13th for us, and it was quite an ominous day. It was one of those days where it was a preparation for today, where we have this massive referendum. We call it a referendum, where all the people of Australia, all the citizens, are forced to vote. You have to vote. If you don't vote, you just get something that isn't really all that fine. It's a fine. So how they define that, I don't know, but it's a penalty, which they call fine. So you get fined for not voting. So I decided to vote on my way home from work today, which I don't ordinarily do on a Saturday, which is unusual. So it is strange times indeed, and that's why I'm just going to normalize things with beer. No, didn't help. Still fucked. Hello, strong beer. It was your birthday, brother. Fuck yeah. Happy birthday. Was that the 13th or the 13th? It's still happening today, or the 14th? I'll just assume it was Friday the 13th. Awesome. Got it. See, I knew. You didn't have to tell me. I can tell by the vibe. So, being Friday the 13th and knowing that there's potentially a solar eclipse coming within the next 11 and a half hours, I can discern that with my psychic powers, because I have a moon calendar here that tells me when all the eclipses start, and I know it's going to be at 4:55 a.m. tomorrow morning, and the sun won't actually be visible above our horizontal line of view until approximately 9 minutes before 6 a.m. And that, nobody told me that. I just discerned that because sort of person that can discern stuff without knowing, because I just know, because I make a lot of shit up. I'm full of it. Anyway, fucking hell, 4 viewers. Awesome. Oh, so you're Australian, strongly. Cool. So you must have voted today then, voted in the referendum. And I'm not going to tell anybody how to vote because you need a pen. Shit. Okay, contradicting myself. I used a pen. I didn't use the pencil they gave me. In fact, the pencil they gave me, I put it in my pocket. I brought it home and I used a pen. And I personally just wrote N-O. It was a lot easier than writing Y-E-S, because that's 3 letters, and 2 letters is 1 less than 3. And, you know, I'm Australian, mate. Jeez, it's a Saturday. Should be my day off. And I had to work this morning. which is good. I got 4.75 hours of work, which is not bad for Saturday grade, eh? So the thing is, this is a momentous occasion in Australia, that whether or not this referendum goes through, whether we give it's designed to give the illusion of giving the Indigenous people of this nation a voice. That's the propaganda behind it. But the real fact of the matter is, what they really want to do is ensure that by giving them this so-called voice on paper, there's no more democracy. It's just going to be one or two people say is going to be allegedly said for 500 tribes of people. And one tribe is not allowed legally under what I call Ollimarowan law to speak on behalf of any other tribe. So we would have to have at least 500 odd elders in every single sitting of Parliament, plus then all the white infiltrators from every single local electorate speaking before they could vote on anything. And what that's going to do, it's just not going to work. So anyway, it's not my circus, it's not my monkeys, it's not really what I want to talk about, but I just think it's very auspicious that, let's read a couple of comments here. Your Clay from Facebook. Oh, fucking A. Really? Seriously? Fucking A. Strong beer. I should have known that. I've got a short-term memory problem. It's because of an incident happened in my childhood where I learned how to smoke bongs. And it affects my short-term memory a little bit. But hey, I'm getting better all the time. One beer at a time. Back in Clay, I still use that image quite a bit too. I love it. It'd be better now if you do it without my glasses and look a bit more. It is I, Arthur, King of the Britons. With the dude going. But we'll get past that. So what I really want to get around about to talking about is that in the local newspaper that we have here, that I used to be a little bit of a contributor to, I used to advertise my business in it as well. I had a bit of a prestigious spot on the back page of it when I had a really good up and running business, when I had my pet store down in Byron Bay, which I bought as a closing down venture from somebody that used to work with me cleaning pubs, that I eventually bought for a bit of a song, really, and built up and built up and built up and made a great thriving business out of until the ex took it off me. And anyway, I loved the newspaper because it came out every week. The publication got thrown on your lawn and you could read the letters to the editor. And sometimes I'd read them, and sometimes I'd read the articles, and sometimes I'd feel like just contributing something. And I talked about several things over the years. One of them was the chemtrails. That was one of the big ones I got a bit of a name for myself for, where I was getting contacted. People were ringing me up on my landline phone. I didn't even have a mobile phone back then. They found my name in the white pages, look it up, Ross Thatcher, Bangalore. Hello, is that Ross? Yeah, who's this? Oh, I saw your letter in the paper and I'd like to talk to you about. That's how it started. So the Byron Shire Echo, which is still now, you can just get it online, which I've done, which I'm doing because as it turns out, I'm actually still writing a couple of responses here on my notepad telephonic computerized whiz banging around the satellite device. Expert at this, my old hat. Hang on, let me get back. There it is. Down, 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 down. There it is. The Echo. The Echo. So there you have it. That is the Echo. Echo, Echo, Echo. Maybe if I turn that little light off a little bit. Give me a little bit more readable. No, well, probably not. Now it's the Byron Shire Echo, the North Coast Independent News, and as you scroll down it, it's got this one about, this one has to be seen. I don't know how to make it. I know, turn down the brightness of this. It still don't quite work. You can almost read it. Maybe auto adjust. Stupid fucking things. Grow that bit. So this one, it's a license plate, okay, and it says lawfully traveling, top and bottom, private across the middle. Bigger. Is making it bigger help? Nah. Stupid technology. It's so great until it sucks. So it says no driver license or insurance required, not for commerce use, private motor traveling. Right out. So this is what inspired me. Yes, the day before yesterday, the day before Friday the 13th and Thursday the 12th, the internet opens up. So this person writes an article which is attached to that. Why the fuck can't shit happen? I don't know. Must be the brightness of the screen. Anyway, it's called The Ultimate Me Movement. Oh, and we do see the author at the top. I missed that yesterday before I wrote. And it is by David Hilpern. And David Hilpern is actually quite a well-respected ex-magistrate of the area in which I live. And I do believe he was actually the magistrate at one of my hearings where he expressed disgust at the way that the law had changed only just recently when I got done for a drink driving infringement, from having one of these. On my way to work, okay, you probably shouldn't do it on your way to work, but I am that which I am. And it was only 1:30 in the morning, because that's when I was starting. It was a long weekend. It was an Anzac Day weekend. And when I went to court, he said that even the police had no right or authority to actually pull me over at that time because I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was behaving within the boundaries of the law like a sovereign citizen, which is actually the topic of this subject, which is what I'm talking about. So I was doing no harm. I was doing nothing wrong. I'm on my way to work to earn income so I can pay taxes and pay wages for other people who worked for me. Yeah. And as I'm driving down the main drag of Byron Bay, Johnson Street, past the RSL Club, a highway patrol vehicle pulled out of the RSL Club car park behind me, flashed its lights on it, and pulled me over outside of the Legends Pizzeria place, which I think is still there. And it's just before the cinema that they built, where you could take a little back road to go around to the railway friendly bar, which was the pub that I was cleaning. And it closes at midnight. And knowing that it's a long weekend, Anzac Day weekend, I thought I'd just start a little bit later. Plus the fact I could barely sleep that afternoon because I have to sleep in the afternoon. And at that time of year, it was a lot of shit. But basically, I'm just a law-abiding citizen driving to work, minding my own business. A cop car pulls me over. red and blue flashing lights. Blah, 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 blah. I say, yeah, what's the problem? Oh, we just pulled you over for a random breath test. I said, why? Well, we just did. See, and this is why the reason why David Hilpern, this magistrate, who is a bit of a legend in his own right, he thought, well, that's grounds automatically to throw out the whole case. But Australian law decided in their wisdom that a magistrate in the local court cannot throw out the case. He can give you a section 10. And a section 10 means basically we're going to let you off on good behavior if you don't do it again within the next 18 months. And that's the best he could do. And he even regretted, he even said it up there in his magistrate's chair and, you know, above the bar. He said, I feel terrible about this because what I would prefer to do is to prosecute you for, say, 6 months suspension of your license so that you can appeal it and take it to the district court, where the district court has the power to then dismiss it fully. So then I no longer have the charge. But there's always the catch-22, isn't there? And this is the discussion I'm basically having, is the catch-22 is that when you get to the district court's going to look at that and say, well, if the magistrate decided you were good enough for a 6-month sentence and you want to appeal that, well, I'm going to give you a 12-month sentence and double the fine. And what can you do about it? Because they can't pass notes to one another. That's not the way the law works. This is the problem with the law in general, which is why I'm just discussing this about time. So that's why I'm having a beer and just ranting shit. Oh, fucking hell. Lucky. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, that's right. No crime. I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. And that's how I fly under the radar. So this is part of what I'm talking about, flying under the radar. So I'm going to read his article, even though it's a lot irrelevant. It will make more relevant part of my English when when I get to the point. Yeah, so he's pretty precise and concise, so it won't take long. Apart from tragedy, what do the following 3 police siege deaths in the last 12 months have in common? First, the shooting and killing of Krista Cack with a beanbag round by police in Newcastle in September. Second, the suicide of Daniel Wellen following shots fired at police near Lithgow in July. I used to live near Lithgow, just west of that, when I was born. Third, the murder of 2 police and a neighbour by Nathaniel, Gareth and Stacey Train, who were then killed by police in Wyambilla, Queensland in December 2022. This was the thing that happened last year around December. And it's pretty shocking because what also happened, I better not jump into conspiracy. This will get controversy, but this is Australia, eh? YouTube, what the fuck? Don't let those gases back in. What happened, we had a bit of a siege in a place, in a property just north of here in Queensland, where a few people who, identified, I was going to say recognized, identified as sovereign citizens, got invaded by the police for whatever reason. And apparently they were sitting there in waiting and shot 2 police dead. And as a result, the rest of the police that came in shot them dead. Now, in my mind, I'm a bit of a conspiratorial freak, don't get me wrong. In my mind, what I saw happen is that there were 2 local police who said, wait a minute, these people aren't harmed. And these other invaders came in and shot them dead. And they go, you can't do that. And boom, boom, they're shot dead too. And those people killed them dead. I know, bad, naughty. Can't talk like that. But that's how I saw it happening. That's how I saw it going down. And I could be wrong. So anyway, that's the third one, the murder of 2 police. and a neighbour. A neighbour also got shot dead, and they were apparently left lying on the ground for about 9 hours before anybody even went to see to them. So, yeah, get that in you. And it says that it was done by Nathaniel Gareth and Stacey Train, who were then killed by police at Wyambilla, Queensland in December 2022. Krista Kack, which I think that's the first one they talk about, isn't it? Killed by the beanbag round. So that's when you shoot a bag full of sand at somebody out of a gun and hope it doesn't penetrate them. just give them a bit of a shock. Oh, thank God it wasn't a lead bullet. Oh. So, yeah, Krista Kack was clearly mentally unwell at the time of her killing, sparking calls for more involvement of mental health specialists rather than armed police. It is clear that the reports so far that the police did not want to kill or seriously injure her, and the beanbag round was only meant to incapacitate. The use of this technology has been suspended for now. Thank goodness. No doubt the coroner will have some findings in that regard. However, the live stream showed her spouting sovereign citizen theories and a diatribe about rights all throughout the siege. So, yeah, if you're going to stand up and platform and say, I have rights, don't shoot me, leave me alone, let me do my own thing, that's apparently gives the police the right to shoot things at you, even if they're just beanbags, which can still be deadly. That's what I got out of that, is that because she was speaking about being a sovereign citizen, it's like you can't even do it. You're not even allowed to. Whatever you do, just say, oh, I'm a good abiding law-abiding citizen. I'll be good. Yeah. People lose their shit because of this. Like, this is why people lose their shit, is because we're living under oppression. Like, fuck, I would. Not that I do that often, but I could. Anyway, onwards and upwards. Sweet. Daniel Whelan was well entrenched in the sovereign citizen movement and had countless social media posts claiming the usual. I mean, just look at that wording. This is from an ex-magistrate. The usual. What's the fucking usual, man? We're all learning for ourselves, but this is the usual self-separation from the corporate state, Magna Carta, and that the law did not apply to him. When reality caught up, it did not end well. So this guy's just writing this as an opinion piece from an ex-magistrate's sort of opinion, but saying that the common thread is in this is that he identifies as a sovereign. And talking about the Magna Carta, I don't know a great deal about that, but I understand it's basically the law of the land, whereas most of the current laws they operate under are maritime laws, which means our roads and streets are considered to come under a different standard of law than the law of the land. They're more like the law of the sea, whereby pirates can pull you over and under their strength of weaponry steal your shit. Anyway, so reality caught up with him and it didn't end well. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you're out in the sea and a pirate pulls you up and you haven't got big enough cannons to fight back, is that, well, under maritime law, well, captain goes down with the ship and anybody who wants to survive goes and swears allegiance to the pirate captain. So anyway, the inquiry into the tragedy of Wyambilla, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's Wyambilla, continues. But I've seen several social media posts by the Trains where they declare themselves sovereign citizens and their loyalty to similar extreme right-wing proponents in the United States. extreme. I mean, okay, if you walked in a police station with a bunch of guns, I would consider that extreme. But they posted on social media where they declare themselves social citizens and sovereign citizens, pardon me. I fail to see the extremity of posting on social media.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
The
It is my privilege to introduce to you.
There's a couple of windows because something just opened it up all by itself. Wow. Okay. So they declare themselves sovereign citizens and their loyalty to similar extreme right-wing proponents in the United States. The United States, I mean, that's the hotbed of terrorism. And why didn't they just use bloody Afghanistan or something? You know, like Australians might have. Oh no, it's the nuts in the United States, that the extreme right wings. Yep, that's what we have to get into our heads. Get that into your head. The extreme right wingers. So, and it is in the United States that the highest toll of police deaths, other murders, and suicides following siege by sovereign citizens continues. While statistics vary and there are crossovers with white supremacists and Trumpian fanatics, the number of deaths are worryingly in their thousands and increasing. So there you go. He's just associated all of those little things into one little group. Is that sovereign citizens and Trump fanatics, and he's just put them all lumped them together in this little Australian article in the Byron Shire Echo, which is nothing, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to read that one again because I just want you to hear it in one. And it is in the United States that the highest toll of police deaths, other murders, and suicides following siege by sovereign citizens continues, while statistics vary and there are crossovers with white supremacists and Trumpian fanatics. The number of deaths are worryingly in their thousands and increasing. Fear porn or what? I mean, come on. There's more people dying of malaria in the Philippines in a day than a handful of people even killed by the cops in America. So come on. Here we go. We have to invoke some more fear porn here. The Oklahoma bomber. This is the very next paragraph. The Oklahoma bomber and fellow conspirators held sovereign citizen views. But well, if they believed in democracy and did it, does that mean democracy is really, really bad as well? But no, they believed in the rights of free man to live on the land. So by association, anybody who believes in the rights of a free man to live on the land must be a fanatic like the Oklahoma bomber and fellow conspirators. They held sovereign citizen views. There was a significant presence of avowed sovereign citizens in the January 6th attack on Capitol Hill. Many now rot in prison. That's one of the things I had to go at him about. But I realized he wasn't actually saying good that they're rotting in prison. He's actually saying it's bad because some of them got like 17-year sentences. But, you know, sovereign citizens, well, that's what you do. If you're out there at any sort of protest against anything, that's what a sovereign citizen does. They say, I don't agree with that. And I'm not liking the way the law has taken too freaking slow to catch up with our feelings. And if enough of us get together, hopefully we can make a big enough voice to say, hey, stop doing that. We don't like it. We do not consent. That's pretty well the sovereign citizen movement is saying. I do not consent. I don't like it. Stop doing it. I don't give a fuck if you convinced 99% of the rest of the world to say, thou shalt not smoke thy marijuana. If God giveth thy marijuana, then if we feel like smoking or whatever with any natural given herb, then that's upon us. It's not upon you or the 99% or anybody else to tell us what to fucking do. Same as with having a drink. So we moved past his little license plate. I really wish that would show up. Maybe we can find a way of getting it to show. Not gonna do it. Anyway, you can find the link. It's just the Byron Shire Echo. Thursday 12th it would have been. So sovereign citizens and then brackets SovCids. So it's just like hammering home the propaganda here. SovCids. They've got a cute little name. Or more accurately, pseudo law adherence. So pseudo law adherence. So it's just keep jabbing. Commonly adopt a grab bag of ideas to argue that the law does not apply to them. You can see them regularly in social media videos telling police that the road laws aren't real, or submitting that judges have no power, or that fines are unenforceable. They swing their attention with agility to the so-called freedom marches in anti-vax land, and more recently to the No campaign in the referendum, which I talked about earlier. The Voice is all a United Nations conspiracy, in case you didn't know. Okay. He said a lot right there. He's mixed it in, jumbled it in, and spat it out the other end about the United Nations conspiracy, in case you didn't know. And that is exactly what The Voice, which we've got 25 minutes left to vote against here in the easternmost part of Australia. We might be able to jump a few states across and vote for another hour or two if we're so inclined. But basically saying it's a United Nations conspiracy, in case you didn't know, but he's being tongue-in-cheek and saying we're all paranoid conspiracy theorists, because we understand that if we give this voice to a select few of the Australian Aboriginal Indigenous people of this nation, a voice to speak for all of them, that the United Nations is going to come in and grab all of our land. So that paint me conspiracy theorist, paranoid freak, all you like, I don't give a. That's what it's all about. We know that's what it's all about. We've seen the wording. We've seen every single time they have a referendum. They've tried years back to try and make us a republic so that we lost the rule of the Queen's law back when she was still alive. God bless her lizard little soul. We voted no to that because we understood that at the very least, stop squeaking, chair. The Queen's law was the best thing we had at the time. Like they keep passing these acts, like I said, road laws. They're not laws. They're all acts. And not a single one of them is actually signed by the Queen. So they're not actually law. They're not lawful. And so a sovereign citizen who's aware of all this stuff can actually argue that in the court of law that they don't actually apply to them. But most people have been, hammered down and told that you're paranoid conspiracy freaks because you don't understand how it works. Well, that's exactly what they want you to think. It's like, yeah, okay, I consent, I understand. Throw your fines at me, put me in prison, all that sort of shit. That's what they want. And so the more you stand up and say, no, I do not consent. I do not understand your laws. The harder you make it for yourself, the harder you make it for them, because they have to prove your laws, but the more you are able to upstand on your own 2 feet and say, I do not consent. the more self-empowerment you have. And naturally enough, the more they're going to fight against you. Sorry, I'm missing a few chats here. I haven't got my glasses on, so I have to squint a little. Governmental. Yeah. Rule the mind. Yeah, absolutely, man. G'day, Gary, too. Thanks, mate. Thanks for dropping by. I'm just having a big old rant, man. I want to get back to what happened to me yesterday because it's coming around in a in a long loop, and I will get to it because I'm reading this article about sovereign citizens. So I'm going to read that last paragraph again, just because I want to really make my point. Is that David Halpern, an ex-magistrate of Australian law and one of the best and fairest magistrates that I've ever come across, mind you. Don't get me wrong. He writes some great articles for the local paper, which is now a local website, the Byron Shire Echo, has now come through though, and this is where I sort of crossed swords with him. Sovereign citizens, SOBCITs, or more accurately, pseudo-law adherents, commonly adopt a grab bag of ideas to argue that the law does not apply to them. You can see them regularly in social media videos. Close your eyes. Telling police that the road laws aren't real or submitting that judges have no power or that fines are unenforceable. They swing their attention with agility to the so-called freedom marches in anti-vax land. So you brought that one up too. And more recently to the No campaign, today's issue, in the referendum. The Voice is all a United Nations conspiracy, in case you didn't know. Next paragraph, a short one. Returning to the 3 recent Australian sieges, I'm not suggesting that all pseudo-law adherents are dangerous or suicidal. Good on you. See, he's a very fair man. I appreciate that. Many are simply exploring the common law and its history and are attracted to rebellion. However, it is equally clear that many unwell people are attracted to and adopt sovereign citizen views. Or perhaps, and this is only anecdotal, these groups have the potential to reinforce delusion and push adherents towards further extremism. That's a bad word, extremism. You just got to be, I'm just slightly, a little bit unnormal, but I'm not extreme, like, jeez. The wording, that's clever. This is unsurprising in one sense because the adoption of pseudo-law by adherents is akin to a grand delusion. So if you've only got a minor delusion, one of the smartest commentators in this area is Robert Sudi, who runs an encyclopedic, it's a big word, encyclopedic, Australian website, pointedly titled Free Man Delusion. See, it's in blue, so you can click on it. I didn't click on it, but it's there if you want to click on it. The bizarre delusions are defined as those which are impossible and inherently implausible or not accepted by understandable. Let me start again. I meant to say or. Bizarre delusions are defined as those which are impossible or inherently implausible and not accepted or understandable by peers. I think my peers understand me pretty well, to be honest, but I could be wrong. But then again, I've got some extraordinary peers. So that they're defined as those which are impossible or inherently implausible and not accepted or understandable by peers. An example I saw in court regularly is a delusion, because he was the magistrate. An example I saw in court regularly is a delusion that all your internal organs have been replaced without leaving a scar. Okay, so he has to pop that in there to make us look completely nuts. So, like, I'm pretty sure most of my organs have not been replaced, and if they did, then they didn't leave a scar. But I've never even thought that. I've never even heard that. I don't even know where that comes from. That's sort of a big fucking bammo out of the fucking left field to say that he saw it in court regularly, that us weirdos who believe in self-determination believe that we've had our internal organs replaced without leaving a scar. Okay, we've had a bit of a Mandela effect, but even as a child, I knew we told our heart was slightly to the left, but it's still in the center. So even that Mandela effect is hardly a sovereign citizen delusional belief that I think anybody could jump upon, but I digress. Then this is what inspired me to respond to him, mate. The scientific equivalent are flat earthers. Yeah, baby. But at least with them, you can actually just walk and swim east until arriving circuitously at the same spot. Sovereign citizen delusions are bizarre because they are not accepted by legal authorities anywhere. They hold ultimately an aspirational belief in what they want the law to be. The delusion is that law actually reflects their belief. So just that jab about flat earthers made me have to put in my little 2 cents, which we will get to eventually. See a couple more comments. I'll have to squint again at the screen. Deborah Clark, g'day. Thought I'd stop by, give you a like before I head to bed. So have a great night off. Thank you, Deborah. You have a wonderful evening. Even if you have to fall asleep listening to this delusional rant by a crazed conspiracist, sovereign citizen, flat earther, crazy, delusional, beer drinking maniac. Hang on. No, it's just control and grandiosity. I'm not a maniac. Cool. The cat settling down now. She's getting a little bit older. So where was I? The delusion is that the law actually reflects their belief. Interestingly, delusions are not entirely idiosyncratic. They tend to be thematic. Whatever that, I guess that means like theme. I guess that's what thematic means. Without looking it up, I can demise, insinuate that it means, oh, don't you scratch me, little bitch. Bloody cat. I told everybody you growing up and you're behaving yourself. And then you start treating my leg like a scratching pot. Bloody hell. The delusion, because we're all deluded, is that the law actually reflects their belief. No, we actually think the law doesn't. And what we're doing is looking for loopholes and saying where we've found precedents in the law whereby somebody found a loophole in the law, then that precedent can therefore be applied in our case, because just because he didn't have a license didn't mean he was actually driving, he was just traveling, that sort of stuff. Anyway, we'll move on. Interestingly, delusions are not entirely idiosyncratic, they tend to be thematic. Pardon me, I have read this. Common delusions in psychosis include persecution. Oh no, fuck. Persecution. Oh man, how dare they do it to me? Damn it. Control. Oh. And grandiosity. Well, obviously I'm king of the world, so got me there. Yep. The language of sovereign citizens is typically persecutory. Well, yeah. If they weren't oppressing me, well, I wouldn't bother standing up to them, would I? I'd just fucking get on with my life without worrying about being fucking persecuted every time I fucking drive around the fucking road. Pardon my that's my ancestors coming at me. They believe they are under attack, primarily from the state, and often assaulted religious, racial, or ethnic groups. What? I don't believe any religious, racial, or ethnic groups are actually attacking me. It's primarily just the state. Anyway, he's got part of that right. They are also resistant to a heightened level of control in their everyday activities, such as driving and paying tax. Well, oh, fucking oath I am. fucking oath I am. I have this discussion almost daily with my fellow workers. It's like, why are they taking like such a huge chunk of tax out of my pay before I've even got ability to go and spend it, when every time I spend it, I'm still spending fucking shitloads of the fucking shit on taxes already applied to the stuff I'm buying. Why not just let me spend all of it? And then everywhere I'm spending it, the people who have to take the money off me are going to have to employ people to take it off me, which is going to provide jobs, which will put more money back into the community. So it makes more sense then to not tax the shit out of people so that the money can just flow around more and more, and then they can ultimately tax more of us in the long run. Okay, sorry about that. Tax does get me a little bit. They are also resistant to a heightened level of control of their everyday activities, such as driving and paying tax. Well, yeah, if you're driving, you're a traveller. If you're driving for work, then you're being employed for it. Okay, you are under the laws of the road, which are maritime laws, because even here in New South Wales, our road authority is called the RMS, which stands for Road and Maritime Service. It should be RMA, Roads and Maritime Authority. RMS, they change it all the time. It used to be RTS, Roads and Transport Service, whatever. Okay, so after that, sovereign citizens typically believe they are superior, unique. Well, yeah, I wasn't fucking cloned, and of inflated importance. I suggest, no, I just want to be normal. Just that's it. Just normal importance. I don't want to be superior. I don't want to be ulterior, inferior, any of those things. Just normal. So to say that the inflated importance, nah, just leave me the fuck alone. It is in this context that there is an obvious attraction to pseudo-law for those already suffering from or vulnerable to delusional psychotic episodes. Now, I get this quite a lot. So apparently I am a bit delusional. I'm psychotic. I need a lot of psychiatric help. I've got all sorts of issues. But at the end of the day, every time I see a freaking counselor or a psychologist or whatever, I end up fucking giving them therapy. That's how it works. They're fucked. I'm the same one. So when he says that it's an obvious attraction to pseudo for those already suffering from or vulnerable to delusional psychotic episodes, I say, you are, but what am I? That's all I can say to that. Fuck. I reckon, so it's good, at least he's given an opinion here. I reckon there's an inherent match to the delusions of the sovereign citizen movement. The road rules don't apply to me because I've separated myself from excessive state persecution and control, and I can produce my own license with capital letters. We're just playing your game, dude. Come on. If we produce something that abides by the rules and put in capital letters, like a license plate, like what this whole the call was all about, is that we're just recognizing you've got standards. We'll play by your standards. We'll abide by your standards. We'll beat you by your standards, and fuck you with your standards, mate. That's what I say. If we got to put it in capital letters, because what does that mean? Capital. I don't even want to go there. And those canny, manipulative, pseudo-law adherents profiting and proselytizing in that space should take note. So, okay, so I've never profited. I've never proselytized. This is probably the most proselytizing I've ever done on this particular subject, because I just believe in the individual's right to choose for themselves. I don't proselytize. I think if you're smart enough to stand up and use common man's law against these maritime law pirates, and by all means do the best you can, but make sure you know what you're talking about. But I've never proselytized or told anybody to do it. Like, I wouldn't be game. I've had a few non-land pirates approach me. Fucking can't even get that word out. Approach me on different things about, saying I owe a debt to somebody. And this is something that happened to me a few years back. Guy knocks on my door. I'm like, oh fuck, what's he want? Yeah, see him. He's got his badge on. He's got his ID. So I took pictures and all that sort of stuff. And he says, well, we're here to collect a debt from something where I had a credit card debt, a bad credit card debt that happened to me some years earlier. And I said to him, well, it doesn't apply to me, man. Like, I didn't make a contract with you guys. I made the contract with that bank. And when I had serious monetary problems, I had a solution with the bank whereby I said, I can't pay this at the moment. I'll try and make a minimal payment as often as I can. And they said that they will stop charging me interest during that 6-month interim period when I'm going through hardship. And therefore, I won't be charged interest as the debt reduces until I reach such a point where it will be reviewed again, where I might be able to start paying again. And then the very next statement they give me, they're charging me interest. So I just went, right, they've broken their contract with me. I'm not paying shit. It was only like a $4,000 debt or something, but I couldn't afford to pay it anyway. But they broke the contract because they told me they weren't going to charge interest. And so it come down a year down the track, and another year, blah, blah, blah. These company debt collectors decide they'll take on that debt. So they buy it off the bank and decide they're going to charge me that debt plus their debt collector's fee debt, which is almost double. It was getting up into like the 10 grand, 12 grand sort of area. And I just said, no, fuck yeah, I'm not paying shit. I've got no contract with you. And the guy basically said, okay, well, this guy knows what he's talking about. I wasn't having a conflict with a cop on the side of the road, which is the last place you want to do it because they got guns and shit. I just basically told him calmly and clearly, I've got no debt with you. I've got no contract with you. Whatever you've got between me and the bank, or you and the bank, that's upon you and them. But I didn't sign into that. It's got nothing to do with me. So eventually that whole thing just got wiped. And so that's basically, I think, the most of the sovereign citizen can hope to achieve is to, stop paying debts that aren't yours. There is a lot more to it than that, obviously, but that's not my area of expertise, and I'm not going to suggest anything to you. But all I can say is, if you've not made a contract with a person like a debt collector, that is not your debt. Your debt was with the person you're indebted to. And if they sold that debt to somebody else and you told them, no, I'm not in contract with you, fuck off, then they basically have to fuck off. They've got nothing on you. They've got nothing unless you consent. The moment you consent and say, oh, yes, that's my debt, that's my name, that's blah, 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 then, so be it under you because you consented. Idiot. So I seriously want to get to the end of this article because I don't even know why I'm doing this. Then, I had to work this morning, and this is leading around to when I went to work yesterday morning in a really, really, really long roundabout sort of way. Anyway, so this was done on the 12th, anyway, of 2 days ago. Their own flirtations with delusion may merely result in relatively harmless failed election or nomination results. So he's invoked this referendum stuff in it because it's an election time. So that's the pertinence of this article coming out of this time. Like, fuck, no, I don't want to get elected. I've got no intentions of being a politician. But he brings it into it here to summarize the article. This is the last paragraph. Their own flirtations with delusion may merely result in relatively harmless failed election, brackets, or nomination, close brackets, results. So either you're aspiring to be a politician or you're not. Fuck that. That'd be the last thing I want to do. Ridicule. Yes, we cop a lot of that. Conviction in court and bankruptcy. However, for some vulnerable followers and their horrified loved ones the consequences are likely to be prison at best or death of self or others at worst. So in other words, he's seriously putting in that threat at the end of it. You're going to get locked up or you're going to get killed. And your loved ones. Think of your loved ones. Come on. Think of your loved ones. You know, it's always that bribery, isn't it? Oh, you got to look after your wife, your children, and all that sort of thing. Think about them before you stand up and think about yourself. You know, go back to work, be a good slave, and all that sort of shit. That's basically what he's saying. But the second last sentence, I tripped over. Didn't quite trip over. Their own flirtations with delusion may merely result in relatively harmless failed election or nominal results, ridicule, conviction in court, and bankruptcy. So he's put the in court and bankruptcy in there as well. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes bankruptcy is a good thing. It's not necessarily the worst thing that could happen to you, because in bankruptcy, your debts get forgiven. So, you know, that's could be worse. Anyway, a couple of people made a comment on this one. Currently says 6. The first one, who just got in there 25 minutes before I did, said, yes, David, the police leader, not more training in dealing with mental health. So they're focusing on the mental health side of things. That's all good. Part of me again, actually the whole community would benefit from some time of mental health education. We need to be able to recognize, help, and understand each other's trauma. So that's a very sympathetic point of view, is that, yeah, people get fucked up by the current state of conditions. That's what makes us crazy. It makes us, some people, more crazy than others. It leads a lot of people to drugs and you name it. You know, like, I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm just saying it's an inevitable result of the current situation. Take a breath. Let's read a couple of comments. Aussie Gold. Hey, bro. Flat Earth dude. Hey, brother. Oh, it's good to see. Rosh, you should play that song by Eddie Vedder, Society. Be a good time to hear it. And a fine small pause for this necessary statement. I wish I could play that song, bro. I haven't actually played my guitar in ages, and I don't ever want to pick it up because it needs a whole new set of strings for one thing, and I think it needs a little bit of work. I want to get it done, but I may tune it up later. But if I could play that song, Richmond, North Richmond. It's funny because I live in Richmond Valley too, by the way. So anyway, this clown, I don't know what he's, look at him, he's like a young fucking idiot. He goes by the name Ross Thatcher. And this is what he responds to David Hilpern. He says, as much as I generally agree with most of David Hilpern's opinion pieces, I couldn't help but feel I was reading a Mandy Nolan hit piece before discovering the author at the end. It's true that the sovereign citizen concept generally has greater appeal to those less than willing to be law-abiding citizens. The fact remains, one can still be highly respectful, indeed appreciative of, the law where the law makes sense. Unfortunately, we've suffered so many injustices on behalf of the lawmakers that many feel unfairly discriminated against. Medicinal herbs and herbal derivatives immediately spring to mind, but it's far deeper than that, including the right to and avoid becoming a public nuisance. Sovereignty is... Oh, you put a typo in there, fucking idiot. He wrote us. but I'm sure he meant is because I wrote it. Sovereignty is as much about respecting other people's rights as it is about asserting one's own. As the saying goes, however, when tyranny becomes law, resistance becomes duty. There's nothing humane about the somewhat gleeful claim that people seeking to enjoy freedom are left to rot in prison. Such a statement reeks of overlordism and the perverted sense that vengeance is justice. I can't remember if it was a politician or a social spokesperson who once said to be very wary of those who seek to punish. Perhaps that's what inspired a former career choice in the past. However, from all accounts, I've only ever heard of David being one of the fairest of the magistrates of the law in his day. The snide remark about flat earthers, however, was what inspired my response. 10 years ago, I would never have dreamt about identifying as such, yet today I'm a recognised spokesperson ardently arguing, with reason, in favour of such an obvious truth. Ironically, I have no disagreement whatsoever with the claim that we can travel east, or west for that matter, and end up where we began. But you'll never do it by heading south. The entire realm is centered around the North Pole, as every line of latitude encompasses it. I've linked to my YouTube channel, and that didn't go through. I put in my bio, but it didn't go. I've linked to my YouTube channel. If anyone wants more information on the topic, it's my opinion that truth is freedom, even for a taxpayer still suffering the burdens of being born into bondage. Not that sort. My favourite go-to place to prove the earth is flat is Julian Rocks. If curvature was the reason it sits above the horizon when viewed from the beach, then where did the curvature go when viewed from the lighthouse? So this is all Byron Bay pertinent. When you sit on the beach and you look at Julian Rocks, which David gave the excellent response to, and he called it by its correct name, Ngthunguli. I hope I pronounced that right because it's Nguthungulli. Ngthuli. And that's their indigenous name to the place we call Julian Rocks, which is known as the father of creation. Go get that, India. So yeah, look it up. Julian Rocks. Google it. Ngthuli. It's my go-to place to prove the earth is flat. And as David did say, did I read that? I didn't, did I? Haven't even got to that yet because I need another beer. So this could be time for a break. I'll just read it anyway. Hi, Ross, and thank you for your thoughtful response, which, as it turns out, in the response I give to him, it actually wasn't a thoughtful response. I was sitting, working in the stench of a pig farm of all places, because sometimes we have to work in places we prefer not to when we traffic management controllers. But as it was, I just happened to have a couple of minutes to type it out. So that response I did was just straight off the cuff. And so he thanks me for a thoughtful response. I thought, geez, if I really sat and thought about it, I would have written it a lot differently. But it is what it is because I just write as it comes out. I agree with you that much of the law, self-medication especially, is ridiculous. And that's why I like him as a magistrate. He's a damn good magistrate. He understands, people do herbs. I mean, get this. I mean, you can lawfully suicide, but not with some medicines in your hand. That was an eye-opener to me. You can lawfully suicide? I didn't know you could, actually. That's why I got locked up that time and taken to the hospital, because I just suggested maybe I won't be home in time to feed my dog. Far out. But my point, which could perhaps have been more clearly expressed, is that the way to fight stupid laws is not to invent or support an interpretation of the legal system that is purely la-la land. The way to fight stupid laws is, yes, to remain under the radar or be an activist for change. Hard to do both, of course. Duh. remain under the radar or be an activist for change. You can't do both. That's the whole problem. So he even says it. He says it right there, the paradox of life itself is you got to be one or the other, but not just hard to do both. It's impossible. If you want to fly under the radar, you're basically crawling under a rock and just saying, don't hit me, don't hit me. And if you're standing up, you're going to get hit with the fucking full force of the law. So whatever. The rotten prison comment, which, yep, you got me there. Comment specifically relates to the Capitol Hill sentences where there is no glee for me. The sentences were way too long, in my opinion. 17 years, exclamation. I reckon they never thought they'd get in there and things got out of hand. They were not seeking to enjoy freedom. They acted on a deluded belief that the election was stolen. Sigh. Yeah, okay. So again, I would say maybe they were allowed to be let in and made an example of for the same reason. You know, I felt like talking about that as well, but didn't put it in my response, but I probably should write another one and mention it, is that when they had some of them BLM riots, the people that turned up there found that there were pallets of like bricks or rubble or whatever just sitting around waiting to be bloody what? They weren't there for that. They weren't there to enact violence, but somebody planted a whole bunch of stuff there for them to just use if it was handy. And so if things escalated, then they had the authorities had the authority to use deadly force to prevent the sort of thing that they set up in the first place. It's a bit of Hegelian dialect to me. So my comment now is awaiting moderation. I responded this evening before starting this. Thank you to David for your very thoughtful response. I must apologise that I quickly whipped it off on my smoko break at work after the trigger of flat earth in your article. Had I given it more thought, I would have realised what you meant by Capitol Hill and not have leapt to premature conclusions, for which I unreservedly apologise. You were indeed expressing sympathy. I simply misread. Last time I jokingly measured... fucking spell correct got the better of me again. Last time I jokingly mentioned, but it's put measured now and I can't edit it. Jeez, damn it. God. But dude, last time I jokingly mentioned suicide by saying I hope someone feeds my dog before I get home. I ended up getting arrested and transferred by ambulance to hospital, whereupon I was forced to walk home 20 kilometres in the rain after proving I actually have the urge to live. One must be very careful about the wording of things on social media, lest one have the urge to live. I could have worded that a little bit better, but lest one have the urge to live severely beaten into them. The medication in my hand at the time was brewed by myself, yet it was forced from my body on the condition I allowed myself to be arrested by a van full of highly toxic medications and people authorised to administer them to me, which I graciously declined, annoyed that my walk, fucking typo, it says wall, that my walk along the creek was abruptly delayed by those with better interests than my own had for me. Yeah, I could rewrite that another 100 times over and it still would make a lot less sense then. It's a sad irony that you mention, as much as one would dearly love to speak up for the common good of one's own community, they make a target of themselves by not avoiding the very radar they wish to eliminate. The Catch-22 situation... The Catch-22 situation has never evaded my perception of this convention, and I've decided that I'm more useful observing, contemplating, and sympathising than I am throwing myself to the wolves. I feel you would be a great ally and myself a suitable student to your knowledge of the law. However, the traffic around work sites won't control itself, just as bills don't pay themselves either. It's almost as though, in some instances, we're seeing a case of build it and they will come, which walks hand in hand with the concept of problem, reaction, solution, or as they say, the Hegelian dialect. I must say I'm super impressed that you use the politically correct and societally correct term for Julian Rock's Umgathuli, the father of all creation. That is what I'm talking about. The correct name for this beautiful big island is actually Olimaroa, which describes the entire country of some 500 nations of people before the King's people described it as Terra Nullius and declared it New South Wales. It's an auspicious date and an auspicious time with an hour before the polls close. 15 minutes ago. I trust my people will vote no, and I strongly suspect the powers that should not be to thwart that. However, as Gandhi would say, truth is not a democracy. Whatever the future remembers about this day, water will always stay flat. So there's my little response to David Halpern. And I hope that the moderators of the Byron Shire Echo will let that get through, because it came from the heart, and that's what inspired me to make this little rant that I'm making right now. So I don't know if you're familiar, probably not, I don't know. When you're driving down the road, right, especially here in Australia, we've got a lot of bird wildlife that like to hang out on the road, and the educated ones have learnt to get out of your way. So you can basically be driving down the road, and they sort of know intrinsically if that's an 80-kilometre road, or it's a 100-kilometre road, or 60-kilometre road. They just know exactly the right moment to hop out of your way. And of all the birds I've seen in my life, crows are the number one expert at getting out of your way. You can line up a crow from 100 meters away, and you can see it starting to hop across the road. And I've never done this since I was a lot younger, when sometimes we used to just pretend to try and hit them. If you do swerve your car at them, you'll never get them. It is impossible to hit a crow. I want to make that crystal clear. You cannot hit a crow. Farmers from way back, when we were still allowed to have guns and stuff, they would know. They would tell you that sometimes they'd have crows being a pest on their property. They want to shoot them. The crow would know the limitations of the caliber of the rifle you were using and be just outside of the range of it. They know. They're very, very smart creatures. Very smart. And for my part, when I'm driving the road, whenever I see any sort of bird on the road, I always swerve towards the opposite direction just to give it a little bit of extra room. I hate hidden birds. You know, it breaks my heart if I accidentally kill one. And you do get the odd one. You know, it is inevitable. It has to happen every now and then. So yesterday, I'm driving to work, 5:30 in the morning is when I leave here. It's still dark, sun's coming up, and I knew that it's going to be an awesome opportunity to get a picture of the tiniest sliver of the crescent moon when I get a chance. And for months and months, if not year to 2 years now, I've been driving past this part of the road on the way from here to Casino, which is now known as Casino. It's 30-minute drive, 25-minute drive maybe, up the road, and it's all flat and level all the way. Flat as fuck. You can't get any flatter. That's why I actually love living here, because it suits me perfectly, because it's the flat capital of Australia. So as I'm driving to work, and I keep looking over my shoulder, and I've finally caught a glimpse of this tiniest crescent of moon. And I thought, fuck, I'm going to find somewhere to pull over and grab a picture of it. I just had to do it. It had to be done. You know, it was a beautiful, glorious sunrise, no clouds, no stuff in the way. I'm going to get a picture of this. And as it turned out, the most apt spot where it was worth my while to pull over and grab a picture was through these telegraph poles. So these are A-frame telegraph poles. I worked on them when I was still a teenager, mind you. That's another story for another day. They call them A-frames, but they're more like a H. There's a huge line of them. So when you're driving past this, which I do every day, you can look down one and you can see hundreds of these poles as far as the eye can see until they diminish into nothing. And you look down the other side, at the moment now there's sugar cane in the way. Before that, sugar cane had gone high enough. You could do the same thing. It's flat. Hundreds of telegraph poles proving how flat it is. And so as it turned out on this particular morning, yesterday morning, when I pulled up on the way to work to get a picture of the moon, it was aligned perfectly through the line of that tunnel of telegraph poles. So I put those pictures on my Facebook, which you can find if you're looking for them. And I took some more on the way home yesterday as well, which I haven't put up yet, but I took of the sun setting, looking the other direction in the west. I couldn't hang around that long, but it was dead aligned with that great line of telegraph poles. I'll put them up as well. It's just unbelievable. In fact, if I went out there right now, because it's not quite sunset, it is now 6:20 p.m. and I can still see the sun is shining out there. If I jumped in my car and raced out there now, I could probably get some of the most awesome pictures you could imagine through those telegraph poles of the sun setting. But by the time I got around to doing that, I'd miss it. So what I'm going to do instead is take a 2-second break, because fucking hell, beer don't make itself. But I'm going to talk about that because what I did is I pulled up, jumped out my car and stood up on the back of the ute and took pictures through the telegraph poles to that way of an amazing sunset. Sorry about that. So what that tells me is that whoever laid out those telegraph poles in the first place, by the time we're about to have an eclipse, they were fucking Freemasons. Definitely Freemasons, man. They're all fucking Freemasons. Like, I think I might go and join the Freemasons, actually. I think they must be really smart. They just want us paranoid idiots to look like you're stupid because you know. Let them mock us. They don't know any better. Honestly, the road, like the same road, definitely not that exact same place, but back on the the northern hemisphere summer solstice, our winter solstice day, June 22nd, as I'm driving home, I'm just looking at this beautiful sunset directly in line with these roads. These roads, because it is so flat, they're straight. They're straight and flat. And whoever designed this stuff in the first place knew what they were doing. I don't know if you saw the video I did the other day. There's a cemetery across the road. As I got home, the sunset was reflecting off an obelisk. Perfect, made it look like it's glowing like a light bulb. You know, there's stuff has gone on even in the last 100 years that we don't know about. Roads, directions, solstices, power poles. These things were erected in such a way. So it's quite pretty, you know, like good on them. They did it exactly east-west, north-south, blah, blah. Clever people. And we're designed to be paranoid or something about it. It's like, yeah, man, we should fucking try and learn something about it. When the Egyptians built the pyramids, for crying out loud. Okay, cat, that's enough rubbing against my leg now. Cat's going to be crazy again, aren't you? See? What am I going to do for you? Throw you out the door? You're a pretty cool cat. I have to admit, you're a pretty cool cat. All right. Stop being so cute. Go on. Run along there. It's probably hungry. Damn it. Feeding time. So all I'm saying is most of the things that we've designed, we've obviously followed just natural principles. Okay, well, we're going to run this telegraph line. We'll just run it east to west. Okay, well, we'll do that. That's how they designed it. So, yeah, yesterday I'm looking at this alignment. Yeah. Going back to when I'm driving to work, I've always wanted to get as close a picture as I could of the new moon. And this morning, because I went at the same time, same road, I got looking. You could not see any moon whatsoever. The glow of the sun was obviously enough that the whatever tiny sliver of light coming from the moon was insufficient to see. So yesterday, Friday the 13th, I'm driving into casino and I'm having thoughts about that stuff I've just read out about sovereign citizenship and all that sort of stuff. And I'm coming down the road. It's getting light, it's dawn light behind me. That's all good. I could see everything. I didn't need headlights. And I started having what I consider powerful thoughts because I knew that this referendum was coming up today, and I really strongly believe that we should vote no against it because we are naturally born sovereign citizens. This is where it got freaky. I didn't even know it was Friday the 13th as I'm driving. I know crows are super good at getting out of the way. Super, super good. You couldn't hit one if you tried. And just as I'm coming in, getting towards the 50 zone, straight out of 100 zones, that's all 100 Ks all the way, basically. I'm still going a good 100. I'm starting to think about maybe tapping the brake because I use a cruise control on my work vehicle that will slowly slow down until I get there. And I see a couple of crows up ahead and, they're just bouncing over there, getting out of the way. Not a problem. But because I'm thinking so strongly about the things that I've been writing to David Halpern and thinking, we are all sovereign. And the exact moment I said sovereign out loud in my head, both those crows circled back towards me and one of them hit, boom, smack bang, into, I've got a traffic arrow board sitting on top of my work ute. And I felt it right at that very instant. I said the word sovereign. Yeah, I know, right? Fucking freak you right out. Like, why at that very instant I said out loud sovereign, a crow, the master of getting away from being killed, sacrifices itself, bam, into the arrow board. And I thought, oh shit, I didn't see any feathers go flying. So I thought, maybe just scraped across the top. Had to go to work, set up all my work site, did everything. And then I thought, oh, that's right. Let's have a look if there's any damage to my car. Sure enough, one of the arrow board lights fully damaged, and there, sitting in one of the bays where I keep all my workplace signs, a dead crow. Very moment. Sent out a declaration of us being sovereigns. And I don't know if you've ever read any. lost Castaneda stuff about doing the peyote and how you can see through the eyes of a crow, that sort of stuff. I read a book years and years and years ago, and I can't remember much details whatsoever. But when you see through the eyes of a crow, basically everything is looking dead, but death, like a dead animal on the side of the road, appears like glowing lights to them, like it's a beacon of attraction. That's why every time you drive down the road, you see crows are always eating on the carrion, because to them, that's what they're seeing life. That is their nutrition and that sort of stuff. And so crows are just the masters of avoiding death. And yet this one, for whatever reason, Friday the 13th, before an eclipse, when I'm full of this energy, I've just had the biggest buzz from taking pictures of a near new moon at sunrise. And I've got this energy glowing out of me, and this one wanted to attack me right there, and the car wiped him out. Fuck. And blew me away just because it happened at the very instant. It could have happened any other time, and I would have thought nothing of it. But the very moment I'm thinking, we are sovereign. A messenger of death attacked me. I'll take a video tomorrow when I go out and have a look at the arrow board that I'm going to try and repair. Arrow board has like these, like an arrow of lights. So you've got an arrow this way, an arrow that way, and they can flash and whatnot. These ones in the middle, and where it hit the one in the middle, that light, which has a cover about yay long, was broken, smashed. It's held on by one screw when it should be held on by four. Surprised they even made it home with me. So, yeah. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. I've never, ever in my life seen a crow do anything like that. Again, as a young person, I didn't really have a lot of thought about or care for things. And I would try and hit a crow. When I was in the States as an exchange student, when I was 16, the host brother I was with, he hated killing things, and yet still it was the done thing. We'd just go out with guns sometimes and try and shoot birds. Yeah, I felt terrible about it too, and so did he. But he actually shot a crow, and we were both astounded. And then he pulled it out. He's like, "Have a look how big this crow is." It's like, wow, they're really big. They're not nearly that small little blackbird you think you see. And I'm going to end this because the crow came home with me. It's sitting in my fridge. I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to show you it after I read the comments. No one has any right over another. Only if someone attempts that, they've broken law. Yeah. Do as you will and harm none is the whole of the law. Absolutely. Yeah, brother. So I feel terrible. I didn't want to kill it. I had no intention of killing it. I thought it had flown away. It made the decision to come and hit me. So here we go. I'm going to show a picture of it. Then I'm going to go and dig a hole or something. I actually want to taxiderm it. With no idea where to start. But this is going to be weird because I've kept it in the fridge. It should be reasonably flexible. God, I'm a bit nervous because I hate touching dead stuff. Anyway, I'm going to turn on the light. There's that one. There's that one. And here's what I dread having to do. I think it might be a bit stiff now. No cap, it's not here. There it is, a dead crow. And if the wings will spread out, I don't know if they will now. Don't know if they will. Yeah, a little bit stiff. They're big. Oh. Oh, I can see the blood on his head now. Couldn't see it yesterday because I was looking at that side. Yeah. Claws aren't that big. Yeah, big enough. Still take off your thumb. Those are big. Really bad. But as I say, it wasn't my fault. It chose after I saw it flying away and I felt bad about it. I felt sorry for it. Well, so fine. I thought, good. Just doing what a crow does. All the crows, oh, good. They're gone. And next thing, bang. Just as in my head. Super powerful for sovereign citizenship. It's like, it was only when I got to work and we started doing our paperwork and shit, I realized, oh, it's Friday the 13th. Oh my God, I just killed a crow. Oh, it's a new moon. Oh God. Yeah. Fucking some things you just can't avoid, and fate is one of them. Yeah. They're an amazing bird. All birds are amazing, eh? Thanks, Lucky. I really appreciate you hanging around too. Your comments are, you're a brother. Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, guys, it's now 6:37 p.m. I've been ranting and raving for a fair while, so I really appreciate you hanging around, having a yarn. I got to work out how to do one on it's called like whatever, where you can actually just leave a link so people can come in and join and we can chat. I want to do that next because it's a learning curve for me too. I'm a bit, how do you deal with technology? I'd love it if I could make my own videos where I can just drag and do stuff and pause and talk and do that sort of stuff. I'll get there eventually. I'll get there. I guess it's all about intention and fate and what has to be. Cheers, Lucky. Skull, brother. Oh yeah. And thanks for dropping by. I will now have to do something with that crow. If anybody's got any good ideas, as soon as I brought it home, I thought, now what am I going to do with it? Put it in the fridge for now, but it can't stay in there for long before the worms start crawling out. But anyway, I think I'll go dig a hole. Have a good one, and we'll catch you next time. And hopefully I'll work out how to stop this the proper way this time. I wonder how you do that. I wonder if you can click on that, that. Stream. I don't have that feature. I really don't know what the correct way is to stop this stream. It's weird. All I know is to do is to close the window down. I don't really want to do it that way because it seems a bit dumb. Manage? No. Can't manage. End stream. Oh, there's a button down the bottom and it's in red. It's all right, I got this. Fucking hell, I was just testing you. Catch you later, man. Awesome.